saying a big thank you to Agbedi. Nice one. And these are the Agbedi drummers. Now, Agbedi, that's my first language. And what does that mean? It means long life. Okay, Agbedi. And so that is, what we need now. We all need Agbedi, right? We have 50 years, we are going ahead with Agbedi. Thank you so much. And the way to say thank you in the Agbedi language is Akpe, so let's all say Akpe. Wow, I'm really excited. Right? 50 years, birthdays, and lots of hard work, as we learned yesterday. Lots of people, some with hardships and some determination and all. People did things to get us here today. And what we want to do today as we celebrate the day is to recognize some of the contributions. We cannot mention every name, and you all know the roles you played, but we still want to mention a few, honor some of our elders. This is African American Studies, right? And we honor our elders, and we encourage the young ones. And that is why it's so good that the old and the young are together today. And with the support of our administration, right? I'm always honored when our dean and the president do not just come to give the welcome speech and then they leave. They are staying with us. Okay, now we put you on the spot. I checked, and they are staying with us, and we are really honored. That shows commitment to this program. We see the marker, and now let's celebrate and thank people, and then go and enjoy the food. So without much ado, I'm going to invite call back our ever-present Patricia, Dr. Patricia Nunn, to take over. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. At this time, Dr. David E. Richardson, II, pastor of Temple Praise Restoration Outreach Center, will lead us on piano as we sing Lift Every Voice and Sing, which, as you know, was written by James Weldon Johnson from Jacksonville, Florida. A lot of our honorees are from there. And his brother, Roseman Johnson. Dr. Richardson was the former director of the University of Florida Gospel Choir, so we're honored to have him take the time to come out and play for us. And so what we're going to ask you to do is stand at this time as we sing Lift Every Voice and Sing. Mother Vivian Filer, I know, well, we'll follow. thank you very much. And I know that from conversations this morning, there are people who are graduates of many HBCUs, including one of the best ones, Hampton University. But we have people from FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. But today, it's all about the University of Florida. And I want to begin my introductions first again by acknowledging the president of the university, President Fox, who you've already heard from. Yes. The dean of CLAS, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, because some people were not there earlier. And Associate Dean Mary Watt, please stand. Yes. Okay. And a very special just recognition and acknowledgement of the first Black student to graduate from the University of Florida. And that is the Honorable Stephen P. Nichol over here. Thank you, Judge Nichol. And his wife, another graduate, first Black woman to graduate from nursing, Evelyn Nichol. Give it up for her. How many people in the audience right now who have come to town for this celebration are Gators? Raise your hand. Okay, almost everybody. Okay, thank you. So I wanted to acknowledge those people. I also want to acknowledge Mrs. Evelyn Fox, president. She's still here, the president of the Alachua County NAACP. Where'd you go, Evelyn? Okay, she may have popped out because she's escorting Ms. LaKay Banks. Also, the Brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Incorporated, would you please wave your hand? Some came all the way from Jacksonville, and the former Honorable Tony Hill. Yes. And before I go on, I want to acknowledge members of Dr. Sharon Austin, former Director of African American Studies. Please stand. Right. And so you will hear from some other people shortly, but before we begin, I want to acknowledge the chairperson of the Dr. Ronald C. Foreman Committee, and that is Dr. Paul Ortiz. We had a fabulous program, outstanding program yesterday. Dr. Ortiz? Okay. At this time, we will have a proclamation presented by Commissioner David Arreola. I'm just looking at you a minute. Well, come on up.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here with so many honorees, and I'm going to read this proclamation on behalf of Gainesville's Mayor Ronald, who wishes he could be here and sends his regards. Whereas the African American Studies program was established as an academic unit in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Florida in 1969, whereas the Black Student Union was central to the establishment of the African American Studies program at the University of Florida, and whereas the African American Studies program was established in the best interests of the University of Florida, the city of Gainesville, and the state of Florida, and whereas the African American Studies program developed the Bachelor of Arts degree in African American Studies in 2013, and whereas thousands of students successfully completed courses in African American Studies during the past 50 years at the University of Florida, whereas the African American Studies faculty and students have made significant contributions to knowledge and the advancement of African American Studies in the American Academy and the global community. And whereas the African American Studies program at the University of Florida celebrates its 50th anniversary in 2019, now therefore I, him, Lauren Poe, by the authority vested in me, and as mayor of the city of Gainesville, do hereby proclaim February 21st, 2020 as African American Studies Day in the city of Gainesville. Related to African American Studies Day, in witness whereof I have set he has set his hand and caused to be affixed as official seal of Gainesville on this day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we appreciate the city and the county for all of their support. And I know that the continued support and partnerships that we will have with African American Studies in the University of Florida. At this time, we are going to have a song presented, by Ms. Lisa Phillips, and normally I wouldn't come up here to present that because it is in the program, but she is a dynamic member of our planning committee for the 50th anniversary, and she happens to work in the provost's office, and she happens to be an amazing singer. So we're lucky to have her here, so please warm it up for her. We're so excited about the changes that have come and that will continue to come. At this time, I'm going to ask Miss KIERA Thompson, there she is already, to come forward. She is one of our very own majors in the students, and she is just a delightful person, hardworking, full of ideas. She's somebody I call the front person, my front person in class. If you've ever had a student who is like the people at the rap concerts who come out and warm it up for everybody else, that would be her. And so if I'm lecturing, she's like, yes, yes. She makes me feel like I'm really teaching something. So please warm it up for her. Come on. Come on.
afternoon, everyone. I am a second year here at the University of Florida. First, let me say thank you for everyone coming out. Thank you for everyone who made the African American Studies program possible, because without it, I probably would not be here at the University of Florida. Thank you to the staff that's a part of the African American Studies program for providing a place of comfort, a place to keep me sane, and a place that made me feel welcome and made me want to stay here at a time where I really was not planning on it. Yesterday I heard someone say that we were never given anything and we've always had to work for it. And there's so much more that we have to work for, and I know it won't be given to us. And I just want you guys to know that you guys do have some individuals here who are not gonna let your hard work go to waste. Yesterday, I also heard someone say that we have a history and that you guys should let us keep our history. And through that history, we have an open door that makes anything possible for us. We have been through so much here at this university, and we've learned so much from it, and there's so many people that we can just lean on for support, which sometimes as an African American student here, it doesn't feel like you have support. It feels very isolated and alone, and to see you guys here is very inspiring. Alan Quinn Jones once said that there's just as much power in the little things as the big things, and I couldn't agree with him more. It's because of the little things that you guys did for the African American Studies program that it even exists today. So again, thank you. And lastly, sometimes you end up right where you're supposed to be. And although a few years ago, I never thought I would be here at the university, I wouldn't doubt for 1 second that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Great job. Can we give her another hand? And so she's one of our current students, and now we get to hear from one of our former students, and we're also proud of her because she's one of these students who's come from Gainesville, Alachua County, graduated from Gainesville High School and came to attend the University of Florida. She even has her own cheer team, who came all the way from High Springs, Florida. Give it up for Mayor. But in this case, this is the one and only BRIONCA Taylor, who is currently a doctoral student at UNC. Come on, BRIONCA.
Thank you all for that warm welcome, and thank you to everyone who came out today. Just reflecting on African American Studies, the program itself just has done so much for me. I think, especially being from Gainesville, you don't really see a lot of Gainesville students going to UF, or ones who are kind of represented in the UF community. And so me and my friend Tonika Jones, who is also here, it was really hard for us trying to be a part of the Gainesville community and the UF community. And I'm very thankful to African American Studies for helping me to blend the two. My family's here today, and they were also there the day that I defended my senior thesis for African American Studies to be one of the first 3 majors. And I really want to give a shout out to Dr. Faye Harrison, who was my first Black professor and who was my first Black teacher since elementary school when I came here to the University of Florida. And I took her Black feminist and womanist theory course, which made me the woman who I am today, if you ask my family. And as I came today, I reflected on that African American Studies has actually been with me long before I came to the University of Florida as an Upward Bound student in high school with Dr. McDade as our leader. And I see her here today, and I'm so thankful for everyone who's made such a difference, the program who has made such a difference for us at a time when we were experiencing a lot of racism, a lot of discrimination on campus, and we were able to have a place to go, and now a place that students can go and actually become a part of such a big program and a big community here. So thank you all.
Thank you. And she's one, but there's so many others just like her out there, graduates, people like Will sitting right here who shared remarks yesterday, and we're just so proud of all of them. So, yes. And so I think that people like Will, people like BRIONCA, and our other students are doing somewhat what Mother Filer, I call her Mother Filer, but to you all, Mrs. Vivian Filer, okay? The one and only community activist, retired nursing professor from Santa Fe College, CEO of the Cotton Club Museum and Cultural Center, UF alumni, 1972, member of WEAR, member of so many organizations, but a true agent of change in our community. And so what she would say is bring that college home. She's famous for reciting this all over the country. And so, but here she is today. So can we warm it up for her? And she was with us all day yesterday as well, was also on a panel then. So thank you so much for coming up to campus.
Good afternoon. I just appreciate being asked to be here. Aging into my life has been so beautiful and so comfortable, and the University of Florida has been a part of that. I have learned from them, I have taught them all over, and so I think that it's so beautiful that we finally have African American Studies Department that's looks like a second to none, and the students then will come out second to none. I like to do this piece because it's all about a mother. The Writers Anonymous. And then for us that are older, we remember the hard times that our parents went through to raise us, but they always wanted us to have an education. So they did the hard work, like scrubbing the clothes. Some kids don't know about rub boards. And I talked about this yesterday, hanging clothes out to dry and taking them in and ironing them and doing all of that. My mother did that. And I said yesterday that she did that for a guy who brought his laundry over, because that's the way we earned our money, through the rub board in the water, and the 25 white shirts he wore that we hated him for bringing, but that we had to get cooked. My mother didn't do anything to it, but it was hard work. I want to say that because this piece reflects that mother as we go through. It's called Brain Dat, D-A-T, not that, because what I learned is when the first African Americans that were enslaved and brought to America had to take the 6 languages they brought with them and blend it in with the 7th language, which is English. They had to change sounds. So in the 6 languages, there was no sound for TH, but all 6 languages use D. So it's a heritage to D, not necessarily bad English. I just want to pass that on to you. This says, I've been sending you to college now for 6 or 7 years. Since the morning that you left me, I've been shedding bitter tears. But I thought of that old saying, sunshine comes behind the storm. So my young man, when you finish, you just bring that college home. I've been shivering by the wash tub, and I've been sweating in the fields. Many times I had to borrow, and I almost had to steal. But I held on to my patience, beat them saucers into foam. All the time, my heart was saying, he's gonna bring that college home. I got food enough for them, plenty clothes to keep me warm. So you trot on up to college, then next June you bring it home. Folks here say that you gonna be nothing. You just fooling time away. I shake my fist and tell them, wait until some future day. Don't you mind these folks here talking. They ain't half as good as you. And they's bound and nagging good folks because that's all they knows how to do. So next spring, when the dogwoods blossom and the leaves begin to fall, take all you got and bring that college home. I don't mean bring home the buildings. I bring them good folks to the place. Bring home Christian education and that high tone college grace. You just grab them fess's habits, hold them tight through wind and storm. Then when you get your diploma, take them all and bring them home. Show the folks here that you got it by the speeches that you make, by the specs that you be wearing, and the way your coattails shake. But don't get above the people. Settle down and don't you wrong. Be a light in your own village. Be a college here at home. Thank you.
Isn't she amazing? She's amazing. Love you. And so, all of our honorees today are people who have brought that college home, so to say, in many different ways. And we will have an opportunity to hear about all of them in detail shortly. But right now, we are going to hear from someone who I remember seeing when I first moved to Gainesville. I wasn't working at the University of Florida, I was in the community. But every now and then I got to come on campus to hang out with my husband, right? They said, okay, you can come up. And I would attend programs and there'd be this tall, handsome man walking across campus, rushing to a meeting here and there. And he was smooth, you know, he had a little walk to him, right? Like, who is he? But then I would see him in the community. He'd be attending these different programs and things, bringing in the knowledge. You agree with me, Dr. Leslie? Right? And, but he has a beautiful wife, Patricia. Where is she? She's somewhere around here, yeah. So, but we can admire him. We admire him from afar. But even the men, when I was talking about Dean Shaw, they said, wow, what a good-looking and brilliant man. They put those things together. So can we please warm it up for Professor Emeritus and former Associate Dean of CLAS, Dr. Harry Shaw. He's a young man too, 82 years old.
Now, how am I supposed to live up to that? What a wonderful introduction. I couldn't have done it better myself, except I might have mentioned that I have an affinity with, or I had an affinity with, and a connection with the African American Studies program before I got here. There was no way for Dr. Hilliard-Nunn to know this, but I was recruited to the University of Florida by none other than Dr. Ronald C. Foreman, who was my close friend and colleague in the English department at Illinois State University before I came here. So I was aware of and in tune with the African American Studies program here at the University of Florida before I got here. And I got here in the infancy of the African American Studies program. Dr. Fox, Dean Richardson, Associate Dean Watt, Interim Director Essegbey, Dr. Hilliard-Nunn, all the present, past directors of the African American Studies program, all the faculty, students, and staff of the African American Studies program, fellow honorees, friends of African American Studies. This is truly an honor for me to be asked to be part of this celebration, this glorious celebration of 50 years of the African American Studies program. Let me first of all express my thanks to all the people I just referenced for what they have done to bring this program to where it is today. I especially want to say the names of the past directors, Doctors Foreman, Scott, Thomas Houston, Mills, Harrison, Evans, and Austin. Thank you. Certainly this two-day celebration is a fitting tribute to the struggle, to the demands that has brought this program to where it is, and also the recognition of both the central and the college administrations. The theme of this two-day celebration is looking back and moving forward. I will look back at some of my own experiences in connection with the African American Studies program at the University of Florida. I'll reflect on these and hopefully it will give some hint of the atmosphere at the university at that time. We have a good idea of what the atmosphere was like because we know that this program, like programs like it around the country, had grown out of the decade of the 60s. What a turbulent decade, where we had riots that were caused by extreme racial repression. All those riots, week after week in the 1960s, and all that violence, the marching, the protests, the sit-ins, all that violence was punctuated by the steady assassination of Black leaders, government officials. The 60s were nothing to play with. It was a turbulent decade. Out of that sprang this program, largely at the behest of student struggle and student demands. So it was in this setting that the African American Studies program was born, 1969. In 1970, it hired its first director, Dr. Ronald Foreman, and had its first students in 1970. The next year, it awarded its first certificate. Now that was at a time when at the university there was only 3 Black professors, 1 Black administrator, and 387 Black students. University of Florida was under a federal court order to desegregate. And building an African American Studies program, the university was faced with two big problems. One was hiring Black faculty, and the other was enrolling Black students. It's hard to build an African American Studies program with those critical masses short in supply. I came to the University of Florida as assistant dean in the college, in University College. Since I've mentioned that I was in University College, I should probably explain that in 1973, there was no College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which did not come into existence until 1979, really. Before then, there was a College of Arts and Sciences, which was an upper division college, which had departments, offered courses that led to various majors. There was a university college, which was a 2-year lower division college, which primarily took care of the general education for the university. That was my college. I have to mention that this would probably not be in the written history, but I need to let you know that, speaking about the atmosphere, when I interviewed for the position of assistant dean in University College, I had the usual meeting with several Black faculty members who were going to tell me what the university was like. And they let me know that my immediate predecessor, a Black assistant dean, had been physically thrown out of his office by the dean. I think they were trying to encourage me. One of my new colleagues even gave me as little as 2 weeks that I would last in the job. Now, it's a long story, but I can let you know that the prediction I exceeded by more than 3 decades. In the dean's office, serving with 4 different deans. It turns out that I was able to help the African American Studies program in a fundamental way. Remember, I spoke about my tenuous beginnings in the college, or what seemed like a tenuous beginning. And that was because of the reputation of my very headstrong and irascible dean. And he was that. When I went to the first college assembly where I was to be introduced to the department chairs and the faculty, I was astonished because I saw only one Black faculty member. As carefully as I could, for several weeks after that, I persisted in bringing up the topic about the numbers of African American faculty. After a while, one day, the dean came into my office and he looked at me and he said, "We've got to hire more Black faculty, and I'm putting you in charge." I was a little surprised with the abrupt turn, but I didn't dare drop the ball. I was able to convince the dean and a vice president to try a different approach to hiring black faculty. Since pursuing superstar black faculty had been largely unsuccessful, primarily because the superstar black faculty were more interested in superstar universities like Harvard, Princeton, Berkeley, than in the University of Florida. At that time, the University of Florida was not a superstar university. I suggested that we might try appealing to black ABDs, or black candidates who were working on and had completed all the work for the doctorate except the dissertation. This scheme I worked out with Dr. Jacqueline Hart, who was affirmative action coordinator at the time. We set up what we called the Vita Bank. And that is a process of my sending out letters across the country to black ABDs, and then sending out letters here at the university to department chairs asking whether or not they had vacancies. Now, altogether in that first year of serious recruitment, the University of Florida, largely under this process, the University of Florida hired 14 new black faculty members. Now, one of those black faculty members that I'm very proud of was Dr. Mildred Hill Luban. She was so special to me that in addition to the usual letter that I sent out, I traveled to the University of Illinois to ask her to come to the University of Florida. Now, I mentioned her not because she became a very dear friend or because she was a colleague in the Department of English, but rather because she was very important to the African American Studies program. The Central Administration was so pleased with our success that they turned the green light to red. We can understand then that in 1975 and in 1976, there were hardly any black faculty hired. The university turned the green light on again in 1977, and the Vita Bank rolled into action again with an unprecedented hiring of 20 black faculty members. Now, once again, the English department, the African American Studies program, and the University of Florida felt very fortunate to have landed a star, the name of Jim Haskins, among this group of recruits. And again, of course, he had vital importance to the African American Studies program. The University of Florida turned the green light to red again. And the University of Florida continued to play red light, green light, or green light, red light for a number of years in the hiring of black faculty members. But gradually, the number and the quality of black faculty at at the University of Florida got notice and began to compare favorably with those numbers at universities around the country. Now, at the same time that this was going on, there was a comparable effort to enroll Black students at the university. Some of you might remember the name of John Boatwright. John Boatwright was a tireless worker in the admissions office, recruiting Black students. And after him was a very intrepid and gifted group led by the team of Walter Robinson and Mike Powell. They worked hard, they worked extremely hard, and they worked extremely wisely to increase the numbers of African American students here at the University of Florida. From the mid-1970s until the 1990s, the term minority here on campus was virtually synonymous with Black or African American. And the numbers of African American students continued to rise until it was approximately 15% of the student body at the University of Florida. As if there were a changing of the guard, however, in 1999, Jeb Bush became governor of Illinois. I'm sorry, Florida. Yeah. He came in with a race-blind policy, sanctimoniously called, you might remember, One Florida. One Florida. And he immediately struck down affirmative action in Florida. I tell you what, I am so sorry. I was really just getting warmed up. But I think you get the idea. To condense, 15% of the student body under the policies that were foisted on this university by the state of Florida. The Black presence in terms of students has dwindled to 5.7% of the student body. That's not to say, as stark as that is, that our efforts to increase the numbers of Black students at the University of Florida is ended. Indeed, when we face a situation like this, we began to fight. We fight in ingenious ways. And that's what we must do. Since the need and the justification for increasing African American presence on campus is just as great as they ever were, hopefully with an abundance of goodwill and genuine desire for the best, we together can discover a way to move forward. I'll just say this, rushing ahead. I was happy to visit the new digs for the African American Studies program. And I was astonished. Now, I had seen those offices before, but African American Studies wasn't there. When I came to the University of Florida in 1973, the Office for African American Studies was on the 4th floor of Little Hall, but by no means the penthouse. It was on the 4th floor. It was a one-room office. It was a one-room office. Dr. Foreman would sit there with his jolly disposition and visions for what could happen to this program. He would be so pleased to see the space that the new offices occupy. He would also be pleased to see his vision of the program with the new faculty positions, the new curriculum, and the new outlook for things to come. As we look forward to the theme of looking back and moving forward, we can say that this university, or this African American Studies program, is sitting on a gold mine, really, because looking back to the untold stories of the African American experience, which is so vital to the story of the American experience, that there's nothing but good things ahead. The light has now been turned to green, and the future should be bright. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a wealth of information, a wealth of experience that we've continued to rely on, and we just are really appreciative of him and his message. And at this time, we're going to have a song, and we will move right into acknowledgments of these people, these special people who are sitting here on the stage, who really actually don't include all of the people who've contributed to building African American Studies, but they are some of the special ones. And so I'm going to ask Richard Murray, who's another African American Studies student. There he is. Doesn't he look nice? He's one of my students this semester. And come on, give him a hand. A senior and a member of Omega Psi Phi. He looks very nice today. So,
my name is Richard Murray from Jacksonville, Florida. African American Studies major. Initially, I wasn't doing something, but I think a poem would be more appropriate. And it's Invictus by William Emerson. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pimp and pole to pole. I think wherever God's may be, from our incomparable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have no wish nor pride allowed. Under the blessing of a chance, my head is bloody blood bound. Beyond the space of rocky tears, wounds with the hardest shade. And yet in the midst of years, finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul. Invictus.
thank you, Mr. Murray. Brave. Give him another hand because he's actually shy. In my class, he's not shy. He's shy about coming here. All of a sudden, I was like, wait, the Mr. Mouth is all quiet now. but just a pleasure to have in class. At this time, we are going to recognize the special people, and I'm going to read some of this because there are mistakes on the program. And we are going to start. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Did we call me? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. As I said yesterday, sometimes we're flexible. It's like jazz. African American says like jazz, and every now and then you insert something here and there, you go up and down, but it all happens, and it's very special when it's done, right? Okay, give it up for that. Okay, thank you. We're going to start with Mrs. LaKay Banks, who is a graduate of FAMU and former Miss FAMU. May he rest in peace, who just passed, who would later become the first Black student to graduate from the University of Florida when he graduated from the law school. Mrs. Banks and her husband, Dr. Cullen Banks, who's one of the first Black doctors in Gainesville, supported Allen and other UF students during the early period of desegregation. Mrs. Banks has lived in Gainesville for over 40 years and has served in numerous community and supported numerous community causes, and she's supported the uplift of the community overall. She helped found the Millhopper Cooperative Nursery School, the first integrated daycare center in Gainesville, along with Jean Chalmers. She is a longtime member of Greater Bethel AME Church, and she's been active with the Alachua County Medical Alliance, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, the Gainesville chapter of the Links, and many, many other organizations. But she was an anchor for students who came to town, students from the Black students who entered the medical school, and she, along with other members of the community, helped those students to survive and to remain here because they had a sense of community at home when they perhaps didn't feel comfortable on campus sometimes. So can we please congratulate Mrs. LaKay Banks? And she she had told me earlier, can I just sit there and smile? So I went by and said, let me make sure because she is an elder, so she gets to do what she wants. So will you please?
Protocol being established, I'd just like to thank you for the recognition given me on this occasion. It makes me feel very special. Thank you for the honor of just being here. Thank you, everybody.
And we have a representative from Omega Psi Phi fraternity presenting flowers to her as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Also another one of our African American Studies graduates too. Trying to take pictures and present awards, yes? Oh, okay, all right, so we want to make sure that we get a picture of all of these because I'm taking the pictures. So if you all will agree to share those pictures with us, we will be very happy. But she is such the princess, such the queen all the time, wherever she goes, very elegant. At this time, I'm going to call Everett Foreman to the stage. He was, I thought you were supposed to be up here. Okay. I'm going to call Mr. Everett Foreman to come forward, and if you could bring little Everett with you. Everett Foreman is the son of Dr. Foreman, who was the first director of African American Studies, now Afro-American Studies, now African American Studies at UF. And he held that position from 1970 to 2000, he earned his BA from Hampton Institute, woohoo, Hampton University, the one, the only, in 1979. A master's in English from North Carolina Central, now North Carolina Central University, and a PhD in mass communication from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana in 1968. Dr. Foreman taught at several historically backed schools, including Shaw, Knoxville College, Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University. Before arriving at UF, Dr. Foreman taught at Illinois State University. He also served on a number of professional and civic boards, including the state of Florida's Florida Folklife Association and the board of directors of the U.S. Library of Congress. Dr. Foreman built an extensive and diverse collection of musical recordings which featured African-American blues and jazz, and maybe one day Everett Foreman will share the business here. And so can we please give him a recognition? And this little man, Dr. Foreman's grandson, was born after he passed. But what a blessing and continuation of that legacy to see those three. I know that he's smiling as an ancestor right now. Yes. Yes. Everett, did you want to say anything? Did you want to say anything? Okay.
I want to thank you all very much for recognizing my father. He would be completely overwhelmed in the sense that the beginnings of the African American Study program, which was the Afro-American Studies program in the 70s, he would be amazed at how far it has come. And I'm so proud of all of you, all the students and the faculty that have come through in the time that he was director. Dean Shaw mentioned how the program, when he came, as it was one office in Little Hall. Actually, when my father came, he was in a wooden building when the buildings were given alphabetic numbers, letters. He was in building D before it was torn down into Anderson Hall. And given the amount of money that hopefully is going to be flowing into the program and into the department, he fought so hard back in the 80s. I'm not sure if any of the students would be here, but he was just trying to get $200 to get a boombox for the program so he could play music. And that was a huge, huge fight just to get that. So he would be so proud again of all of you. And thank you very much for that.
Get over little Everett, and I think that Mother Fowler and I would agree that he has a lot of Ann Foreman in him, doesn't he? He sounds like it too. Yes. Thank you. Dr. Horn helped establish the African American Studies program while he was a graduate student at UF. He is currently a full professor of critical thinking and African history and is the former chair of the Department of Africana Studies at Cal State University, Northridge. Dr. Horn has taught numerous classes related to Africana history, politics, and his research is interdisciplinary and addresses issues related to reparations, organizing, critical thinking, logic, public policy, Pan-Africanism, and culture. He is the author of Straight to the Point, for a logical introduction to critical thinking, and Meeting Ma'at, a handbook of African consensus meetings and gatherings, as well as numerous scholarly and community-based articles. He has served as the executive director of the revised California African American Political and Economic Institute at California State University. He is also the co-founder of the 21st Century Pan-African NGO, the Pan-African Organizing Committee, and founder and chair of the Reparations United Front. Dr. Horn would be one of those students who was a graduate student, who was a part of the community. He also came from Jacksonville, Florida, part of those people who were prepared to come to the university, and he came and didn't just think about himself, he was thinking about building something he could leave for other students. Let us welcome him.
honor of my mother, countless Black teachers who helped generations of us to get ready, in honor of the Qs and all of the Black fraternities and sororities and the Black church, in honor of all that we have been through, in honor of the university administration, the people who now can get African American Studies to become a department, as we asked for them to do. We've come a long way, but we have so much further to go. And especially in honor of Dr. Foreman, Roy Mitchell, Larry Matthews, Walter Barnes, Michael Sherfield, Larry Matthews, Ronald Mackey, the 4 other students who came with me. I don't know why Mrs. Fullwood, Dr. Fullwood, put into the history of African American students here that I was a graduate student in, with the BSU. No, I started here. My community sent me here. We were raised within a community that said, young man, young woman, if you have the goods, your job is to get prepared and to move on so you can prepare the place for other folk. We were sent here, 5 of us, that made 15 people, 15 African American students who were here when I came here in 1964. Out of the 5 of us who came from New Stanton High School, Jacksonville, Florida, most of us who went to Second Baptist Church, all of us who were connected to the NAACP youth movement. We were sent here, told we better not fail. We better find a way to get through, and getting through University College was hell. 4 of the 5 who came graduated. We didn't just come, we graduated. The only reason Walter Barnes did not graduate was because his girlfriend was going to Tennessee State, and he would prefer to be with her than to be harassed on campus. I am a product of a group of people. No one succeeds by himself or herself. We all come from and represent other folk. And hopefully the university will get back to its opportunities and effective administration in terms of recruiting students from Florida, from Gainesville and from Jacksonville and other parts. That's your background. That's what you need. You got all this talent within the field. When we came to Gainesville, we found Fifth Avenue. We made sure we stayed on Fifth Avenue. In fact, Phileron Wright saved my roommate from death on Fifth Avenue. It was that community that held us up. When we were being harassed on campus, that community helped us get through. No one succeeds by himself or herself. Y'all need to get back to the Black community in Gainesville. It's powerful and it's strong. When Dr. Foreman came, we were the students who were present, listening to him and writing the letter of recommendation for him to be appointed. We loved him. The man was brilliant. I wrote the letter. In fact, I wrote the letter to Dr. O'Connell about setting up African American Studies. That was my position in the BSU, which used to be the association. We went from being Negro students to Black students and African American students in that journey. That's been me. I've been all over the world. The university prepared me just as my community prepared me. Interesting that I'm coming back here for the second time in 50 years. I was in this building. This building is older than I am. And like the fine grain in the wood, if you put up a strong structure, you see it continue. You see it age. 50 years scared the hell out of me, but I am back. I can still jump up and kick my heels. I can still listen to the jazz. This university prepared me in a lot more ways than you would think. We almost got lynched on the campus. That's not going on anymore. The university has moved forward, and we thank the president and the other administrators. It did make me feel bad last year, seeing somebody snatching students off the graduation stage. That was not cool. But as a student, prepared here and traveling the world, I have been an ambassador for not only UF, but for African Americans, for us. I have been an ambassador for what good we can do. I was raised in the tradition of Dr. W.B. Du Bois. Yes, he changed it later on, but he taught about the talented tenth. That once you are identified as having some talent, it is our job as teachers to prepare you, to raise you, to send you forward so you can prepare the way for others, to pay it forward, to move it forward, to keep moving. No matter what comes up, keep moving. So I stand here today, 50 years or so later, saying thank you. Thank you to the university, thank you to Gainesville, thank you to Florida, thank you to my community. I'm not through yet. It won't be another 50 years, but I'm not through yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Roy Mitchell was the first African-American administrator at the University of Florida. He served as director of minority affairs from 1969 to 1971 and resigned after Black Thursday. Dr. Mitchell was born in Georgia but was raised in Jacksonville, Florida, where he performed well in school, and he was one of those dream children, those brilliant children who could have gone to many places. He served in the U.S. Army in addition to being a consistent force for education. He was an exemplary educator. He served as a teacher, a counselor, a dean of students, a vice principal, and a principal. Dr. Mitchell retired in 2003. He had served as president of the Edward Waters National Alumni Association, the mission, excuse me. I know that he's a charter member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and those members are here to help present the award to him right now. I'm going to ask them to come forward, but the person standing in for him today is his wife, Mrs. LaVon Mitchell. He has a sister here, also who I'm going to call forward. Where is she? All the way from, oh, okay, come on, Miss Boyd. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to ask you to come up and stand with Ms. Mitchell and Dr. Somebody can help escort them up here, and I'm going to ask the brothers of Omega Psi Phi to come forward while we are doing that. We got lost here. Excuse me. Dr. Mitchell from Jacksonville is just interesting. Richard's from Jacksonville. Several of the students in my class are from Jacksonville, Florida, and through looking at this history of African American studies, a lot of the students and administrators came from Jacksonville, Florida, and they had a strong delegation. Edward Waters has a strong alumni association, a strong family, and they all came down. And so they're all here to present.
Good afternoon. I am humbled by the University of Florida acknowledgement of Dr. Roy Ishmael Mitchell, my husband, as the first African American administrator. His tenure, as was stated, was from 1969 to 1971. And I'm just grateful and honored to be here to represent him. I know that one of his favorite songs that would also epitomize him is "May the Works I've Done Speak for Me." And many of you that know that song know that it actually describes him. And then also another poem that he would also recite is "It Couldn't Be Done." And I'll just read the last stanza of that for those who may not know it. It says, "There are thousands to tell you it can't be done. There are thousands to prophesize failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that await to assail. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start in a song as you tackle the thing that couldn't be done, and you do it." And that was what Roy was all about, getting the job done. So again, I say thank you to family members that are here to represent, as well as friends. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it wasn't real difficult to track the family members down, but sometimes when we tell histories of programs, we have to tell the whole history of the programs. And he was so important, and he, along with many students, sacrificed. They left UF when that happened at that time, and but they had made a significant contribution before they left and continue to make contributions in their community. And so we're very proud of him and very proud that he's a part of the foundation of African American studies here. As is Dr. Shaw, who you've already heard from, and so I'm going to ask him to come forward. I'm not going to read all of this, but you already know what role he played, but before he came here, he had already been a writer, an expert in American literature, in African American literature. He's the author of a book about Gwendolyn Brooks, and the editor of the Perspectives of Black Popular Culture. He served in many capacities while he was working here at the University of Florida. You've heard about some of his experiences already, so please warm it up for him again. And last but not least, we have Judge Emerson R. Thompson Jr., or the Honorable Emerson R. Thompson Jr., who was an undergraduate student in political science when he helped to organize the African American Studies program. After graduating from UF, he went on to attend law school at Florida State University. As a lawyer, he distinguished himself as an assistant state attorney of the 9th Judicial Circuit and Orange County Court judge, 2 cycles as chief judge, a circuit judge in the 9th Judicial Circuit, and a judge in the 5th District Court of Appeal. Judge Thompson has served in all divisions of the courts, and I mean all, every position you could serve in as a lawyer, except the Florida Supreme Court. And as I said earlier, he is more than qualified to do so, more than qualified to do it than the ones who are on there and were on there. In addition to his work as a judge, he has supported many local, state, and national service initiatives by sharing his time and his resources. I've seen him at many University of Florida functions, supporting people, being a great retired grader, if you will. He served on the Florida Bar Foundation, a statewide charitable organization that provides leadership and funding for justice in Florida. He is a founder and former president of the First Central Florida American Inns of Court. He is an active lecturer and former adjunct professor at Valencia College in Orlando, and alumni of the former faculty member of the National Judicial College. Judge Thompson is just active in so many community organizations, and you will just see him everywhere. But with all of those things that he does, he has this very kind of humble spirit, just very low key, but very smart and firm. In spite of that, I just appreciate him. And so, can we please give him a hand as he comes forward here?
Thank you. I'm going to be semi-brief. Not as long as Dr. Show, but not as short as that. Let me say a couple of things. First, I want to thank the faculty and administration for inviting us back here. I really want to thank the students who have participated in the program. It was interesting to me to see the students and to hear the problems that they have, as well as the goals that they have and the problems they have solved. It is always good when people talk about the youth are not doing this and the youth are not doing that. I always say you don't know the right youth. Youth are like people. Some are good, some are bad, some are intense, some are lazy. So join with the ones who have the positive aspects and we forget about the ones who do not. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege to recollect a couple of things. The first big class I took was in this building, Psychology 101. And the professor, whose name I do not recall, said to us the first day, you can miss all the classes you want except the first one. Well, if you don't miss the first one, you can't miss all of them. And I found that one of the profound things that influenced me, little snippets that directed my life. Across the walk, there used to be University College, where I had a big class in biology. And it was over a couple of hundred people. And it was 4 days, 3 days of lecture, 1 day of lab. One Friday, I decided to take a sabbatical. And I went home to Jacksonville on the Greyhound bus. And I got back Monday, and the professor said, nice of you to join us, Mr. Thompson. I looked around, and there were 2 black students in that class. I then realized the Lord laid a blessing on my heart not to miss that class again. This building also, the black students at that time, no designation, did Douglas Turner Awards the day of absence on this stage. And if you read that story, it's about a southern town where all the black people disappeared. And then they missed the white people, the things they did. But they also found a lot of the people they thought were black, or white, also disappeared. That's because they were passant blanc, passing for white. I bring that up only because there were several students here who were black but they were light enough to pass on along. One of them was a friend of mine from high school who was in my Boy Scout troop. So I learned another valuable lesson about people. An African student told me this. He said, I may be your color, but I'm not your kind. And that was at the University of Florida. What he meant was, we should have done more because we had access to education, money, entrepreneurship. His people struggled, but they worked hard. Another fact that I kept over the years. So it is intriguing to me to be here in this building on this day. I was not a founder of the African American Studies program. I was asked, how did you get into the African American Studies program? There was no program at the time I joined. I had a desire to be a PhD like David, and mine was special, was going to be political science. And I took classes in African studies or African courses in anthropology, history, political science, and come to find out I had enough credits. I have a certificate in African studies that was given on June 13, 1970. So that was the first time that certificates were issued. I'd also like to mention professors like Magusi Oyele, who was from Ethiopia, and he was trained as a linguist, he spoke several languages, but he had a degree in political science. Dr. René Le Marchand, who taught political science, who was from France, but went to school in Tennessee, and I asked him why. France drafted people to fight in Algiers. His daddy sent him to Tennessee because he didn't want his boy drafted. And he took a bunch of us, including Dr. Manning Dow, to see the Battle for Algiers down the street at a theater that was an arts theater where we saw foreign films. That helped me get a world perspective. I learned about writers from Africa, like Achebe. I learned about Black Skins, White Masks, and various other books by a noted French author. So it was an intriguing time for me. I had a mixed relationship with the University of Florida, love and despise. We had a tough time during the period of time I was here. I had a special disregard for the Kappa Alpha fraternity that the first time I knew they were on campus, I was standing at the intersection here, and it was homecoming, and they came down the streets riding horses, had beards, and flying the Confederate flag. And the Lord laid a blessing on my heart. Back up and go back to Murphy C, where I belong. And not at that intersection where they were getting a lot of cheers. The first Florida football game I went to, they played Dixie, and everybody was expected to ride. I did not, so let's just say I decided also I better leave early because some people took exception to that because I was not honoring the flag. So it was an intriguing time. The African American Student Association was a group that we formed. I was the president for a very short time. My most vivid memories, I gave a speech on the steps of Tiger Hall about the same issues, lack of funding for issues related to Black students, lack of Black faculty, and the dangerous situation if you were a Black student on campus. And it was a real problem. So it was an intriguing time. I did not come back here for years. I would go to football games and then leave. I loved Gator Ground before it became sanitized. I loved the alligator before it became neutered and had to leave campus. Because you learned a lot. I used to think that education was what built you. You added things to a skeleton. What I found was education helped chisel away the foolishness in your life, the misconceptions that you had, until you found what was really left in your character, in your spirit, and the things you believe to be true. Because universities will test the false premises that you live by, about race, gender, sex, and worldview. But the real change in my life came when my granddaughter came here to become a pediatrician specializing in, become a dentist specializing in pediatric care. And then she ran into an awkward situation that derailed her education. She pledged AKA. And as we used to say, she lost her dedication to purpose. The education to become a advocate of the pink and green. So much so that she was counseled she might want to consider attending class so she could graduate or get a job. The Lord laid a blessing on her heart to graduate, but she did not become a dentist. She's now a lawyer in Dallas, Florida, having attended Florida State University. I was asked, why did I go to Florida State University? Although I've been accepted to the University of Florida College of Law. And here's my answer. What does Tallahassee have that Gainesville doesn't? AKA, Delta, Signal County Road, no, you get the picture. The social life was not good here, and so we would travel to FAMU for homecoming games and stuff. How many of you went to Stanton High School? You did stand up. Let's stand up for a moment. Stanton High School, Jacksonville, old Stanton, new Stanton, Stanton Crack, stand up. A number of the students that David mentioned, all of us went to Stanton High School. All of us were trained and taught and were taught that we could go anywhere we wanted to, and we did. PhDs, pilots, doctors. My peers went all over the world and went to any university they wanted to. I had never thought about what David said until today. We were trained to excel. Now, it was expected, if you had talent, you should excel in using that talent. I just never thought about it because it was a normal thing for us and our peers. David and I went to the same church, so I've known him just about all my life. So it was not unusual for us to become successful, as was our classmates, because it was expected that we would do well and would excel. I was asked, where are you going to college? Not if you're going to college, but where are you going to college? And that's something I think that we need to instill in the young people today. Enhance the good character traits, intellect that they have, and try to help them eliminate the bad character traits that they have. To see the studies program, but a program without a direction or without a raison d'etre, a reason for being, to dedicate students to do a specific thing is wasted. It's just students with a degree who do nothing with it. Students with a degree who make no attempts to lift the race. I was born in Jacksonville, and I can always tell the age of people in the audience when I look down and they sing, lift every voice and sing, and I can tell who knows it by the third verse, and if they can sing the third verse without looking at the notes. Because we were trained to do that. We were trained to remember the 23rd Psalm. We were trained to get up to speak. I was pinched, grabbed, collared, and choked. To get up, speak up, lift your eyes, talk up, boy. So I can hear you, look me in the eye, act like you're not afraid. And pitch when I did something wrong. I was taught to say ma'am and sir, and I was taught to behave. And then those things are what I call lifelong character traits that will instill within you the ability to succeed, the ability to treat people well, even if you don't like them. Diplomacy. Finally, I say to you that we should encourage the students in that class, the class that is entering into the African American Studies program, and the ones that are graduating, to excel and to do their best. I have gotten so tired of people who just want to get by. Nothing fails but a try. Do the best you can if you fail to something else. But not to try to me is the greatest sin. Not to try is the greatest sin. So I'm pleased to be here today. I'm happy to be here. I did get a certificate in 1970. I will tell you this small story I think about often. I was interviewed for a job by a government agency because I had taken 2 years of Swahili, I had taken African Studies program, and they were talking about, I thought it was with the State Department, and then toward the end, my professor said, you know who they were, right? One of those agencies with 3-letter names initially. I said, really? I said, yeah. And I was in ROTC at the time, and I decided, no, let me not go back for that interview. It's one of those decisions I'm thankful that I made. I conclude by mentioning one person. I've never told this story. I was small but feisty when I was here. I would fight a battle with a switch because I had LMS, little man syndrome. And in my neighborhood, I grew up in a housing project. You either beat everybody, got beat by everybody, or you fought everybody. And you failed in one of those 2 categories, whether you liked it or not. So I was here, students, KAs, getting on my nerves. And I said, the next crack I can sit, I'm gonna knock it out. And I was in the J. Wainwright's Union. And so there was an honor court going on. I went in, and one of the judges was Stephen Lippert. And Stephen doesn't remember this. I was sitting in the back, and he was one of the judges or justices on the honor court. And I was so impressed with his demeanor, his behavior. I got to know him. I've known him when he and Evelyn were courting. That's how long I've known him. And it occurred to me that if he, as an alpha, could do that, then I, as a KA Psi, member Kappa Alpha Psi, could do the same. So publicly, I want to thank you for being the kind of person that you are, the life you've lived, the children you've raised, and you were an inspiration, whether you knew it or not, to at least one student at the University of Florida. Thank you.
So I know we're running out of time, but there is one important thing that we also need to do. And now I want to thank President Fox for staying this long. We would like to call on you to help us do something now. We want to recognize an ally that we have. We talk, the song of our bird looks back, right? We've done a lot of that, but it also says that we are moving forward. And moving forward, I want to just say one thing. So sometime last semester, I attended a presentation with Dean Richardson, and we sat at the same place. And as we were coming back, we were walking from that. He said, "You know this wrapper. You know, have you seen the design, the wrapper that you saw when you went to the office? What do you think about it? What have you shown it to the faculty? Show it to them and let us know. Can you get back to me?" And I sent that to faculty and got some comments, and when I got that back to him, he said, "Did you get that from everybody? What did everybody say?" But, I mean, this is what we have experienced. And we have an ally who is, as I said yesterday, got a firm. You do not bargain. If you are buying a cat, you do not bargain for it when it's in the sack, right? You have to open it. And so this is really, we put a lot of work in this. We took days to put it together, and we want the president to give it to you, and yours, we want you to open it so that everybody sees our appreciation of you. That is what everybody has got once we see the deeds. So thank you. some presents here that I will give individually. We cannot come up, but I would like to also thank the Watts, Associate Dean Watts, for being the go-to person for us. You've been such a big help. You continue to be a big help. As I said, when we go for the budget, we go to her with the budget. She's the one who we have to convince first, and she says, oh yeah, no problem. And then she goes to talk to Dean Richardson. Thank you very much. We have your present which we will give to you. We also want to thank Dean Fields, Associate Dean Fields, who is not here. Sorry, I have to say this. When she came and saw the furniture that had been purchased for the place, she said, no, this place is too beautiful to have these furniture, so we are going to return them. And then at the beginning of the year, I was given a bill for the furniture that is in there, and I said, whoa, we can't afford this. So I sent an email to her and said, are we to pay for this? She said, no, I told you I'll take care of it. So that beautiful place, she worked so hard. She was always there and all that, and we really want to thank her. Our two committees, the Paul Ortiz,
Dr. Paul Ortiz, chair
of the symposium committee, Dr. Patricia Hilliard-Nunn, the two people, everything that is beautiful of the program. My faculty, Paul and affiliate, thank them for everything that went well. If something did not go well, then I will take care of it.
Okay. Thank you. And also we want to acknowledge our Chief Diversity Officer, Antonio Farias. I saw him earlier. Oh, no, wave your hand. Thank you, who's been a special sponsor. We appreciate you. Thank you for just your overall support. He hasn't been here long, but he's jumped right in there and has been very supportive of African American studies, so we appreciate you. The George Smathers Libraries, special and area collections, fabulous, just letting us use that space. We were all there all day yesterday. The Samuel Proctor Oral History Program, who's been fabulous, Dr. Paul Ortiz, the director, his students, Tamara, doing everything, even his wife, Sheila Payne, is a part, we consider her part of our committee. We appreciate you. The Bob Graham Center for Public Service, the Office of the Provost, Lisa Phillips, I don't know if she's still here, driving people around, of course, African American Studies, the College of Liberal Arts, and all of our support sponsors who are listed in the program. And then the committee, I have to ask all members of the Dr. Ronald C. Foreman Symposium Committee, please stand right now. You're in here, please stand. Yes, so we're still here. And people have been coming and going all day. We know we're in the middle of thank you. But members of the 50th Anniversary Community Celebration Committee who are in the room now, please stand. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. And then any members of African American Studies faculty who are here, will you please stand? Anybody who's still here, not in class? Well, I'm standing up. Oh, there she is, Dr. Celeste. Woo-hoo. Okay. And then any students who are here still today, who are loyal, dedicated, and they've had classes, thank you. We have the largest number of majors in the country, almost 100, and they've had classes, and it's very difficult to compete with FIS, the Florida Invitational Step Show, which is later, so it's going to be packed there, but anyway, but some of them were at the unveiling, so we want to definitely thank those people, and Dean Richardson, again, and anybody else that I'm missing. Of course, our honorees, the families who came from out of town, wave your hand. This is how people survive, is that family support, people who stood with people when they were in their community. You heard the stories of family members when they came. And then they shared the story so eloquently about what people went through at home and what they were thinking about and how communities were relying on them. And so we want to thank all of our participants who came from out of town, former students, community people, and everybody's doing what Mother Fryler said is bringing that college home. So we appreciate all of you.
Okay, I think this is, everybody's tummy is rumbling, so we have food across and we'll just walk over. Thank you once again, and let's continue the party outside.
Up those stairs.
Got a ramp right there. You're gonna go outside.
We need to find out.
All right. So,
Okay. See what's happening.